Let's explore this official GMAT problem. To get maximum benefit from this video, pause the recording now and solve the problem for yourself. The correct answer is B. Like most critical reasoning problems, this one involves an argument. And before we go into solving this problem, it'll be useful to clarify what is an argument. Now, we often use the word argument to mean a discussion or a debate or some kind of disagreement. But here it's being used in a more old-fashioned sense, more like a legal sense of making an argument. In the same way that a lawyer stands up in court and presents an argument, the writer here is presenting an argument. What does that mean? Well, here's a simpler example. If I say, I think it's going to rain tomorrow, that's my belief, that's my point of view, that's something which I can try to convince you of. But on its own, it's not very interesting. It needs something to support it. And if I say, look, the sky is cloudy, now I've got an argument. I've got a point of view, my opinion, my conclusion being supported by some evidence, some reasons, what I'm going to call a premise. Now, put aside for the moment that this is not a great argument. You could disagree with it. The logic here is not perfect by any means. But it is an argument. On the simplest level, an argument is one or more premises supporting a conclusion. Let's go a step further. If I said, so let's stay at home, this changes things. Now, what I'm trying to convince you of, what my main conclusion is let's stay at home. That's my main belief. That's the part when I would be hitting my hand on the table. I've still got my evidence that the sky is cloudy, but this part in the middle, it's kind of being supported by the premise, but it's going on to support the main conclusion. So I'm going to call it an intermediate conclusion. So far, so good. Let's go a step further. Here's the same argument, the same conclusion, the same premise, and the same intermediate conclusion, but I've added in a couple of other parts. Take a moment to try to find out how they relate. The first part doesn't directly impact the logic of the situation. It's some context. I'm going to call it background. Then this part here seems actually to contradict my conclusion. If the weather forecast says it's going to be sunny, this is a reason not to stay at home. And to comment on that, it's actually quite common that we present evidence which goes against our main conclusion. Think about the lawyer in court. They will admit their weaknesses in order to neutralize them. So I'm going to call this counter-argument. And these 5 things here are the building blocks of arguments. In critical reasoning, it's very useful to be able to break arguments down into these building blocks and be very clear about what they are. In fact, in order to do that, these words can be very useful. These are what I'm going to call marker words, and I'm not going to go into great detail about them now, but as you solve critical reasoning problems, keep a keen eye out for these marker words. They can help you identify the building blocks. Let's bring that back to the original problem. We've got some marker words here. Should. That indicates some kind of opinion. For one thing, well, that sounds like something is supporting something else. And considerations showing, well, this also sounds like some support. So here, the main conclusion, the part where the author is trying to put forward their main point of view, is the first part. The investors should have confidence in the stock market. Why is that? Well, the considerations are giving some support, but the considerations are supporting the bold part, which is going on to support the main conclusion. Hey, we've got another intermediate conclusion here. Notice how we got very clear about the building blocks of the argument before looking at the answer choices. Now it's time for some elimination. We can go and see which answers do not agree with this analysis. Answer choice A says the bold part is the argument's only conclusion. That's not true. Answer choice C claims that the bold part is the main conclusion. We've also seen that's not true. notice that the correct answer has to be 100% correct. So as soon as we find one contradiction, we can eliminate it. D, we won't worry about what an assumption is, but it says that there's no explicit support provided for the bold part. That's not true. And finally, E looks like it's trying to confuse us with a compound statement, but it's definitely not the argument's main conclusion. That's not true either. The correct answer is B. Click the link below for a follow-up task.